Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for just very generous introductions. Thank you, Julie, for inviting me. And thank you, James, for taking care of all those equipments. And Kirk, thank you for where is Kirk? Your compassionate heart. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your service. My name is Peter Lee, and I practice law, immigration law. I volunteer my time, private time, for this organization called North Korea Strategy Center. For some reason, this screen does not show all, but today I'm gonna talk about briefly three stories about North Korea, because nowadays there's so many talks about North Korea, starting from the nuclear missile test, fire and fury, and then hungers, some sudden turnaround of talks, peace talks. And then last night there was talks like from North Korean side, like a gangster-like demand from the United States to rip them off of their nuclear weapon without paying it. So whose story is right? So today I'm going to present for the three men's story. So at the end of the day, you decide whose story is right. It's mostly like a video clip, so it's not going to boring, hopefully. First story is your present, my present, his story. It will take like a couple of seconds to roll the clips. It will turn out. Is it? Yeah. We tested them all beforehand, but suddenly, yeah. Yeah.
They have some embedded YouTubes in there, so they have to pull from the internet. And they just relaunch it.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Lee,
Yeah.
while we're waiting for him to get that, could you tell us a little bit about how your life story, how you came from Korea to the United States?
Okay, yes. Okay, for the time killing. I'm originally from South Korea. My grandfather's generation, my mother's side came from the North Korea. My father's side from the South. And then I was born there, I was raised there, I even completed my military service there. And then my grandfather used to have 8 siblings. During the Korean War, out of 8 siblings, only 2 survived. And then my mother's side, they have 4 siblings, only 2 survived. So the Korean War is one of the most deadliest war in the World War history. And then my father's generations, they fought in Vietnam War to support the United States as one of the strongest allies. And then I do also serve as a kind of Korean soldiers who are attached to U.S. armies. And then after completing the army service, I immigrated into the States, which was 17 years ago. I completed my law school in Michigan, and my first job was in Washington, D.C. At that time, the President Bush, he enacted the North Korean Human Rights Act. Actually, I met him 2 months ago in Bush Center. I really appreciate his and his constituents' strong support for the human rights in North Korean issues. There are so many issues in North Korea. Now, does it work? Yeah. So let me quickly finish my story. And then there's many segments in the North Korean issue. One is a security issue. The other one is international politics between the China behind and the United States. And the other issue is human rights issues. Basically, all those complicated issues kind of interacting to each other, which is commingled with all those strongest powers around the Korean Peninsula, which is Russia or China, and then now United States. Two weeks ago, I visited Hawaii, and then I visited Punch Bowl. Some of the veterans, they must be well aware of a national cemetery who fought during the World War II. United States fought 3 wars in the Pacific Theater. The first one is World War II against the Japanese Empire, and the second war is the Korean War against the Chinese and North Korean army, and third war is the Vietnamese War. Having fought that 3 wars in the Pacific Theater, actually, United States kind of dominated the Pacific Theater. Now China is strongly kind of demanding those status quo. So that's the situation surrounding the settings. Why Kim Jong-il is kind of testing the limits, how far they can actually push forward or into the out of the current status quo. All those things are kind of intermingling and intertwined in the Korean Peninsula. So today I basically try to kind of show 3-man story. One is President Trump's story. The other one is the Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader's story. The last one is our God's story. Okay? Hopefully this work, yeah. All right, history. That's it. Run. Oh. Okay. Looks like it worked. Okay. That was the first meeting between the sitting United States president and North Korean leader. And they finally signed a joint statement.
So we're signing a very important document, pretty comprehensive document, and we've had a really great term together, a great relationship.
Today, we had a historic meeting and decided to leave the
He's
past
35
behind,
years old.
and we are about to sign a historic document.
They even take the stroll together.
Mr. President, did he agree to denuclearize?
We're starting that process very quickly, very, very quickly. Absolutely.
Actually, they signed the documents in June 12th in Singapore, and then President Trump is trying to explain what they signed for.
Today is the beginning of an arduous process. Starting that process very quickly, very, very quickly. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be verifying. It'll be verified.
How will it be achieved, Mr. President?
Well, it's going to be achieved by having a lot of people there. We have right now 32,000 soldiers in South Korea. And I'd like to be able to bring them back home, but that's not part of the equation right now. We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money. The sanctions will come off when we are sure that the nukes are no longer a factor. Well, at a certain time, I will. I said that will be a day that I look very much forward to at the appropriate time. And I also will be inviting Chairman Kim at the appropriate time to the White House.
A new world can begin today.
This clip is actually from the White
Friendship,
House.
respect, and goodwill.
Honestly, I think he's going to do these things. I may be wrong. I mean, I may stand before you in 6 months and say, hey, I was wrong. I don't know that I'll ever admit that, but I'll find some kind of an excuse.
Yes, that's President Trump's story. And then let's hear about Kim Jong-un's story. He's 35 years old. Here it comes.
We move on to those high-level talks between North Korea and the U.S. appearing to hit a major snag tonight. North Korea slamming talks with U.S. Secretary... State Mike Pompeo as deeply regrettable and cancerous, accusing Washington of making gangster-like demands. Those are their words on its nuclear weapons program. But Pompeo characterizing the 2 days of talks, quote, as productive. ABC's Tara Palmieri reporting from the region tonight.
There were signs of trouble for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo when the latest nuclear negotiations started off with the most innocent of questions. He was asked if he slept well.
Thank you for the accommodation.
But the question was merely a setup for this shot across the bow by counterpart Kim Yong-chol.
But we did have very serious discussion on very important matters yesterday. So thinking about those discussions, you know, have not slept well last night.
Director Kim, I slept just fine.
Just before leaving, Pompeo trying to put the best spin on his third trip to North Korea, even though he was denied a meeting with Kim Jong-un.
We had productive, good faith negotiations.
But shortly after takeoff, that good faith was gone. The North Koreans slamming the U.S. in a statement, saying they pushed a, quote, unilateral and gangster-like demand for denuclearization, calling the U.S. issues, quote, cancerous, and expressing disappointment that the U.S., quote, left all troops in South Korea.
Now, we're well on our way to get denuclearization, and the agreement says there will be total denuclearization.
There were hopes for progress after that historic summit just over a month ago. Now the talks seemingly in shambles.
I wanted to stop the war games. I thought they were very provocative.
While the Trump administration agreed to call off their military exercises with South Korea, the North Koreans have yet to deliver on their pledge to return the remains of U.S. combat veterans. And there are reports that they have not curbed their nuclear activities.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
With North Korea calling the weekend's talks deeply regrettable, speculation now growing that the heated rhetoric between Kim and Trump will also return.
U.S. officials tell me they're not surprised by the harsh statement by the North Koreans. They see it as a negotiating tactic. As for the North Koreans, the end of their statement says that they still have faith in President Trump. The question now, does the president still have faith in them? Tom?
Tara Palmieri traveling with the Secretary of State tonight. Tara, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
Actually, what North Korea is doing behind their peace talk, this is actually what they do inside of North Korea. This clip is actually from the North Korea. They're trying to kind of show off. They completed their nuclear arsenal, so they're on equal ground, level ground with the United States. and then they gather the peoples and they're singing together, and then showing around their intercontinental ballistic missiles. At the end of the day, this is running across the Pacific Ocean, and then blasting nukes, and then burning, of course, the flags. This is what they do behind. So the Kim Jong-un, he says that the reason why he has to develop the nuclear weapon is they have to kind of counter the U.S. military kind of pressurize. And in order to save his own country, he needs that strong arsenals. But the real reason behind why he develops a nuclear weapon is to kind of a threefold. First one, of course, he needs some kind of deterrent against the foreign powers. But the more the reason is the second reason. In order to mobilize his own people who has been starving for the last 70 years, they need some kind of a slaving driving forces. Like we need to this kind of American hostility there. So we need to focus on developing nuclear weapons, and we need to focus on you don't kind of complain for anything. You need to sacrifice for this. I think the second reason is more important for Kim Jong-un. So actually, I don't know whether this peace talk gonna go well, because if Kim Jong-un just forego his nuclear weapons, he doesn't have nothing to say to his own people, to fight for him, to stand behind him. So this is Kim Jong-un's story. What about, I don't know, but I personally believe our Jesus, our God, who loves us on an equal ground, what is thoughts? What is his story? I think we believe in the Jesus who died for us in the cross, and then he cares for the people who cannot speak for themselves in North Korea. So I'm going to show a quick kind of video clip which shows a North Korean prison camp, which contains almost like 80,000 to 1,200,000 peoples. And then this is kind of the strongest mechanism of North Korea, which kind of supports Kim Jong-un's tyranny. So anyone who speaks against Kim Jong-un, they're gonna be put into these political prison camps for life, with all his families. And hope this video clip shows, or if not, let me show the next one. Sorry, I put too many video clips, but we are almost at the end, so. So basically, yes, I can just kind of speak. This is kind of satellite images of what is actually inside of North Korea. I try to show those exact locations of those political prisoner camps inside of North Korea, which resembles strongly the Nazis' Third Reich's kind of Auschwitz. And this kind of concentration camp is most needed for this kind of state-run, the tyrannic country. So in order to suppress people's kind of uprising. And then,
I think it's the internet connection. Drop. It's the city internet. You got to pay your taxes.
Okay.
There we go. You just need to reconnect.
Oh, I see.
Good old government internet.
Is it connected?
I think it's connected. Yes.
Right.
Well, it has the yellow thing of death. Okay. Hang on, let me get you better. Keep talking.
All right. So basically, this is almost at the end of my presentations. And then lastly, I'm going to show what our organization is actually doing. And then we raise funds and raise awareness. And then we send, last year, we sent 100,000 of these little USB sticks through Manchuria, northern China. And then inside of these the small sticks, we put everything from the Bible to Wikimedia, newspaper, movie. One of the favorite kind of soap opera in the North Korea is Desperate Housewives nowadays. So we put everything there, and then we ship into the Manchuria. So we have kind of dotted the connections there, and then we smuggle bunches of these USBs. Because nowadays in North Korea, there is almost like 600 black markets there. One of the reasons why Kim Jong-un came forward for the negotiation talks is that, unlike his father, he cannot feed his people anymore because the communist distribution system is kind of has collapsed. So all those people, everyday people, they depend on. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, they're depending on. This shows that their political prisoners camps, depending on the marketplace in the black market. So Kim Jong-un. He cannot suppress people anymore with the outer world economic sanctions. This is a very sad video, which shows all those exact locations of those concentration camps. You can look inside there. There's all those little buildings, like the blocks, where peoples are concentrated. They're kind of condemned for the enemies of the state. And in December 2006, there was nothing. And then they're kind of increasingly building those stuff and their barracks to hold more people. So there's so many camps around North Korea. So this is another reason why Kim Jong-un cannot open his country. Once he opens his country, as like Hitler and the Third Reich fell, all those crimes against humanity is an unbearable atrocities about human being gonna be disclosed to the world, and then he himself and his regime and his right mans and wings of these people cannot escape from international prosecutions. So what I do is that basically this is the video clip of what I do inside of North Korea. We try to kind of send, actually this is the last video, so you don't need to wait for any more. This shows how we smuggle those USB inside of North Korea.
This footage was secretly filmed by a North Korean citizen who, if discovered, could face the death penalty. He is smuggling Western and South Korean TV shows, documentaries, and websites into the country, media that is illegal in North Korea. This is part of a plan to change how North Koreans see the outside world and their own government. A plan to break the regime from the inside. North Korean dissidents living in South Korea, such as Cho Hwan-kang, are behind this audacious plan. Mr. Kang runs an organization based in Seoul, South Korea, that each year sneaks 3,000 USB drives filled with foreign movies, political documentaries, and e-books into North Korea.
Number drastically increased.
이건 이제 좀 아는 사람들한테 평양 내륙으로 보내서 그 사람한테 다 이제 콘텐츠를 줘가지고 평양 내륙에서 복사해가지고 이제 몰래 뿌리는 식으로 그렇게 해서 이제 시도하고 있고, 이거는 지금 많은 사람들에게 그냥 대량으로 뿌리기 위한 그 콘텐츠 작업을 지금 하는 겁니다. 그러니까 콘텐츠 선별은 이제 우리가 북한 주민들의 다양한 그 욕구, 또 다양한 어떤 그 인식 변화를 위해서 그들의 어떤 선택이나 뭐 어떤 그 권리, 또 인권 문제를 우리가 다루는데 필요한 콘텐츠를 우리가 분리를 하는 겁니다. 그래서 궁극적인 목표는 북한 정권의 변화입니다. 그래서 북한 주민들의 힘으로 민주화를 이루고 남북 통일로 가는 그 과정을 만드는데 저는 이 정보 유입이 절대적으로 아주 필요하다고 저는 보고 있는 겁니다.
Getting the footage into the country is dangerous, but often very low-tech. One method is simply throwing the USBs across the river to North Korea, where bribed border police are waiting. The USBs are strapped to a rubber tube, along with some cigarettes, and taken to the Tumen River that divides China and North Korea. At a prearranged time, one of Mr. Kang's team throws the rubber tube into the water, and the current takes it to the North Korean riverbank, where it's hoped soldiers from the regime pick them up and sell them on. Once the footage is inside the country, the USBs are traded in markets. But it is risky. Getting caught with the USBs could cost the recipient or smuggler their life.
이 사람 우리가 함께 일하는 조선은 파트너입니다. 저희가 북한이라는 걸 확실하게 증명할 수 있는 딱 USB 500개를 딱 가지고 찍은 거.
Mr. Kang knows firsthand how hard it can be in prison in North Korea. As a child, he spent 10 years in a gulag as punishment for alleged crimes against the regime carried out by his grandfather.
그것이 바로 북한의 수용소인데요. 많은 사람들이 영양실조로 이제 굶어 죽을 때, 그런 사람들을 이제 제가 파묻어서 이제 뭐 이렇게 매장을 하는데 겨울에 이제 많이 죽어서 매장을 하게 되면 여름에 이제 흙이 녹으면서 이제 시체가 다 드러나서 그 썩은 시체들을 저희가 또 모아가지고 또 따로 파묻을 때, 그럴 때가 상당히 좀 견디기 힘들었고 끔찍했죠.
Mr. Kang defected to South Korea 25 years ago. Since then, he has been on a crusade to change North Korea from the inside. His organization is supported by groups from abroad who help finance the operation. The project is bold, puts people's lives at risk, and it's impossible to say what impact it is having inside the country. The hope of Mr. Kang, and dissidents like him, is the more access North Koreans get to the outside world, the more they will question the diet of propaganda from Pyongyang and demand political change.
Yes, that's the end of my kind of a video clip. And then I do strongly believe that the safest way, and even though it's a bit slower, the kind of easiest way is kind of try to make the North Korean society implode, not explode. Kind of war or our strongest kind of mechanisms of change, the forcing the society change, it's going to cost too much, even for American kind of precious blood. So we believe that kind of try to send more information, try to let peoples of North Korea be exposed to the outside world information, and then try to change their minds, which will take a little longer, but eventually it's gonna be safest, and then it's gonna make change inside of North Korea. That's I think I do personally believe, and I think God prefers that kind of peaceful method to change those rogue regimes. Thank you for listening.